applied myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win, yeah. Refuse, mine, it can't be diffused. If you ain't thinking the same, then we playing by different rules. You can't see the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it, they told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie, I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me like Toby, keep on running, toes they gon' take them. Refuse to lose, load the win. Apply myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I pay for the cost, I'm winning to win, yeah. Refuse to lose, I'm built to win. Apply myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counted me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win, yeah. Refuse.
Welcome back to CTC. I'm your gracious host, Carl, and I'm back with another episode. Today, we got 4 games to go over between today and tomorrow, and we got to talk about the updated polls in the college basketball scene. So, we're going to hop right into it. If you missed my episode yesterday about what happened in college basketball last week, go ahead and check that out. A couple storylines for y'all. But we're going to go over the polls. And the number 1 team in the country is still the Arizona Wildcats at 22-0. Definitely agree there. Michigan jumps UConn for the 2 seed. I don't really agree, only because UConn's only loss is to the 1 seed in Arizona. But I can see how that happened because I did see it coming. Michigan did get 2 top 10 wins this past week. If you want to say top 7, they got 2 top 7 wins this past week. Even though Nebraska did lose to Illinois Sunday, they were still a top 5 win there in Nebraska, and then a top 7 win against Michigan State as they were ranked 7th. So I don't think they should have jumped UConn just because UConn's 1 loss is to Arizona while Michigan's 1 loss is to Wisconsin. But I guess they figured the 2 wins was more important. At the 3 seed or 3rd in the country is UConn. They handle business, I want to say, against Creighton. Yeah, they won by 30 against Creighton. 4th is the Duke Blue Devils. Went undefeated this past week, and ACC play against Louisville and Virginia Tech. So shout out to them. Shout out to you, Cali's own YT Edits. Appreciate you for stopping by. But next, Illinois, who is on fire right now. They've won another top 5 game. They beat Nebraska Sunday, like I mentioned. They also beat Washington earlier in the week. They are now the 5th seed in the country, setting up a top 10 matchup on Saturday for Michigan State, Illinois. So that should be a fun one to watch. Number 6, Gonzaga did not drop. I thought Iowa State might jump Gonzaga. Now, Gonzaga's only loss is to the 2nd seed Michigan, but they did have some close calls this week. But they also probably factored in injuries, so not really mad at Gonzaga to be number 6. I just thought Iowa State might come in at 7, being a Big 12 school, and they just had one bad week, which 7th is Iowa State. Beside that bad week, they keep rolling. Number 8, Houston, finally getting in the top. Well, they were top 10 last week, but they're inside top 10 now. Houston, also another team that's rolling. Yeah, they stumbled against Texas Tech, but Texas Tech is a good team. Number 9, Nebraska. They suffered 2 losses this past week, but you can't, and rightfully so, put Michigan State over them when they beat Michigan State head-to-head. So they land at 9, while Michigan State comes in at 10 after suffering that loss to Michigan and having to come back against Rutgers, which looked like that game was over for a while. But Michigan State remains in the top 10. Kansas comes in at 11 with 5 straight wins so far after beating BYU. Darren Peterson not really playing the second half. He played like not even 4 minutes of the second half, but they survive. 12 is Purdue. They stay at 12, blowing out Maryland this past Sunday, which was yesterday. Texas Tech drops from 11 to 13 after losing to UCF. 14 is UNC. North Carolina just keeps climbing the rankings. I forgot who North Carolina beat this past weekend. Sorry, North Carolina. 15 is Vandy after collecting wins against Kentucky and Ole Miss. They move up to 15. BYU drops 3 spaces. I mean, the 2 losses they got this weekend was to first overall Arizona and now 11th Kansas. So you can't really drop them too much. So BYU just drops 3 spaces. But, and I know they have 2 more losses than BYU. I thought Florida might have raised up a little bit higher. Florida's only at 17, blowing out both South Carolina and Bama, dropping Bama from the rankings, mind you. 18, Virginia, they dropped 1 spot. They did beat Notre Dame Tuesday and I think double OT. Don't remember if they played Saturday or not. 19, St. Louis, man. St. Louis just keeps climbing up the rankings. A10 school, 21-1. Shout out to them for being inside the top 20. Speaking of 20, Clemson. 21 is Arkansas, dropping back 6 spots after losing to Kentucky. 22 is St. John. They just keep moving up the rankings. 23, the Red Hawks of Miami of Ohio, man. They keep moving up as well. The other undefeated team in the country at 22-0. Louisville drops back 4 spaces at 24, and Tennessee moves into the top 25 with wins against Georgia and Auburn. Now, I only have one issue, and it's not a big issue, but it's just more of a preferential issue. I think Louisville should have dropped out. I think Tennessee should have been 24, and I think Texas A&M should have been 25. Texas A&M is probably one of the hotter teams in the country. They only lost 1 game in the month of January, and that was to aforementioned Tennessee, which is why I thought Tennessee should be 24. And Texas A&M deserves to be ranked in the top 25 at 25. Like I said, only losing 1 game in the month of January to Tennessee. They are currently, on top of the SEC, only having 1 SEC loss to Tennessee. So they're first in the SEC, only had 1 loss in a month. I think they should be ranked. I think Louisville should be out. Louisville just gets, when they play ranked teams, they get smacked. So I don't think they should be ranked. I think they should have to get another good win. I mean, even though I don't want to take away the win against SMU, I think that's a good team. I do think that's a good win. But I don't think that should override a 30-point blowout against Duke. I don't think that should override a blowout against Virginia. So I think that Texas A&M should be ranked over, not over Louisville. Because I don't. When I say over Louisville, I think that Louisville shouldn't be ranked and Texas A&M should be ranked. Shout out to y'all in the comments, man. Shout out to y'all. Appreciate y'all for stopping by. But that's all I got about the polls for the day. That's really my only issue for real. I mean, 2 Michigan, 3 UConn. I mean, I'm not really too mad at it because the wins Michigan got this week or this past week. So I get it. I understand it. If I'm UConn, I'd be sick. But unbiased opinion, 2-3, where they at, don't really care. Both are deserved of either or, so it is what it is. Alabama, rightfully got knocked out the top 23. I don't think Alabama should be ranked. As good as they are offensively, they are just as bad on defense. Don't think they should be a ranked team. And y'all know I love me some Nate Oates, but unfortunately, Bama's not up to par to what Nate Oates normally has. But we'll move on to the games. Like I said, we got 4 games, 2 today, 2 tomorrow. There's a game at 7 o'clock, North Carolina, Syracuse. You might be thinking I'm talking about that game. No, I am not. I am talking about McNeese as 3.5-point road favorites taking on Stephen F. Austin, 7:30 on ESPN+. I believe this game is for first place in the Southland Conference. I just want to double check, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Yes, Stephen F. Austin is currently first place in the Southland at 12-1. McNeese is currently second place at 11-2. But the teams have been played earlier in the year, and McNeese won by 2 at home. So this is technically a revenge game for Stephen F. Austin. If Stephen F. Austin wins, they'll hold a commanding 2-game lead in the Southland Conference. If McNeese wins, they'll be in the lead, even though they'll have the same Southland Conference record, because they hold the head-to-head tiebreaker, beating them both times on the road and on at home. Now, McNeese, they're led by Larry Johnson, who's averaging 17.4 points per game and 5.3 rebounds and 1 steal per game. Tyshawn Archie, averaging 13.5 points per game and 1.5 steals. And Javon Garcia averaging 11.4 points per game and 1.9 steals. The X factor to me is the Seton Hall transfer, Gary Doyle, And the reason why I think he's the X factor is because of his activity on the defensive side of the ball and scoring. He's averaging 1.8 steals per game and 8.8 points per game. He's a rangy guy, athletic guy who can move, and I think his activity on the defensive end, like I said, is an X factor. Stephen F. Austin, led by Keon Thompson, averaging 17.7 points per game, 5.2 rebounds, and 4.2 assists. Lateef Patrick, averaging 15.5 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, and 1.5 steals per game. And Gerald Colonel, averaging 5.1 points per game, 7.3 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks per game. Now, their X factor to me is Christian Christmas, rebounding, averaging 7 boards per game. He's also averaging a steal per game, but I think more so his rebounding because last game against these two was a low-scoring game. McNeese won 66-64. I'm going to take the home team in this one as underdogs. I'm going to take Stephen F. Austin. In this one, like I said, last game was real close. And I think a lot of it is going to come down to the guard play, scoring from the guards, and that home crowd being into it as well. So I'm going to take Stephen F. Austin in this one. I just think they get their revenge at home, and they take a resounding lead in the Southland Conference. Next, we have a top 15 matchup. We have 11th ranked Kansas Jayhawks taking on the 13th ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders. Again, Texas Tech is coming off the road loss to UCF, while Kansas has won 5 straight, but now they're on the road. Now, in this Big 12 conference race, Kansas and Texas Tech are both 6-2, which are 2 games behind Arizona, who's undefeated, obviously with an undefeated overall record. Actually, Kansas is 2.5 games behind. They're 6-2. Oh no, they're both 2.5. Yeah, they're both 6-2. They're both 2.5 games behind. They're both played only 8 conference games. Everybody else has played 9 above them, except for Houston, who's played 8. But they're 7-1 in conference. The only loss is to Texas Tech. But either way, this is huge to keep pace. It's also good for the resume builder, seedings. I think both of these teams make the tournament, so just like more of a seeding game and things like that. But Kansas, man, they're led by the guy who's now getting a lot of talks of being the number 1 pick in next year's draft, Darren Peterson. Darren Peterson is averaging 21.3 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, and 1.2 steals per game. Also, Kansas is 4.5-point road dogs in this matchup. They're also led by Flory Badungu, who I rave about a ton, averaging 14.5 points per game, 8.9 rebounds, and 2.7 blocks per game. And Melvin Council Jr. averaging 13.7 points per game, 4.7 rebounds, and 5.2 assists. Now, the X factor for me is Trey White, a guy who can drive to the basket and shoot the 3-ball. His scoring is also huge, starting for Kansas, because Texas Tech is a pretty solid defense who can score a ton of points. And I think Trey White's scoring is going to be huge, averaging 14.8 points per game. Now, for Texas Tech, they're led by Player of the Year candidate. Now, there's a lot of candidates for Player of the Year in Big 12. Big 12 Player of the Year candidate, JT Toppin, who's averaging 22.4 points per game, 10.9 rebounds per game, 1.1 steals per game, and 1.7 blocks per game. Christian Anderson, a guy that I really like at the guard position, plays defense really well, and he can score the ball. He's averaging 19.6 points per game, 3.4 rebounds, and 7.5 assists per game, 1.4 steals per game. And LaJuan Watts, averaging 12.7 points per game and 6.2 rebounds per game. Now, the X factor to me is going to be Donovan Atwell and his scoring ability as well against this Kansas defense, averaging 12.1 points per game. I can see this being a real high-scoring game, and that's why I have Atwell as an X factor, because his scoring will be very much needed. But my winner in this one, I'm going to roll with Texas Tech. And the big reason why I'm rolling with Texas Tech, beyond being at home, beyond bouncing back from a loss against UCF, which I think Coach Grant, I can always butcher his last name. I want to say it's McCaslin, but let me double check it just to make sure. But either way, while I look it up, just to make sure I say his name right and give him his proper respect. Darren Peterson is also a big reason why I have Texas Tech winning, because his inabilities to play second halves, man, the cramping and things like that going on is a hindrance for the Kansas Jayhawks. Grant McCaslin. Yep, I was right. So that's another reason he just sometimes doesn't finish games. He starts off really hot. 18 in the first half against BYU. He finished with 18 points because he only played like 3-4 minutes in the second half. Texas Tech, they're going to need him the whole game. Will he play the whole game? That is to be TBD, to be determined. What I do know is guys like JT Toppin and Christian Anderson will be playing their whole game. So I'm taking Texas Tech in this one. The next 2 games are tomorrow. So first game I want to bring up, NC State being 1.5-point road favorites against SMU, 9 o'clock on ESPN2 tomorrow. Now, NC State, they're led by former Texas Tech player Darion Williams. Darion Williams is averaging 14.7 points per game, 5.4 rebounds per game, 3.3 assists, and 1 steal per game. Quadir Copeland, 14 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, 6.5 assists, and 1.8 steals. And Van Allen Lubin averaging 13.5 points per game and 7 rebounds per game. Their X factor to me is former Michigan State guard Trey Holloman. Trey Holloman, his toughness and his ability to facilitate the ball and score, I think will be big against this SMU team who got guys that can go. Speaking of SMU, they're led by Boopie Miller, averaging 19.4 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, 6.6 assists, and 1.8 steals. Jerron Pierre Jr., 17 points per game, 4.9 rebounds a game. BJ Edwards, 14.1 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, 5.1 assists per game, and 2.6 steals per game. Their X factor to me is Wichita State transfer Corey Washington. And his scoring ability, averaging 11.3 points per game, because I think this game can get real score heavy with the way these two teams play. And I think his scoring ability is going to be huge. But I'm going with the home upset in this one, man. I'm taking the SMU Mustangs to win this game at home. SMU is a really good team who I think is flying under the radar. They have 3 guards, really 4 that can go. Boopie Miller has been having a great year. Jerron Pierre is a great scorer transferring from Jack State. And BJ Edwards is also a great scorer. Now, the thing with NC State is they can score as well. And I think they do have lapses at times on defense. But I think that SMU, I'll say this. SMU, like I said, is a good team under the radar. They were up double digits throughout the first half against Louisville. Louisville battled back and ended up winning by double digits. But I think if SMU was at home against that Louisville team, that game probably ends in a blowout. And not to say NC State is a bad team, but I think NC State is susceptible to letting teams score a bunch of points. And I think that bodes well for SMU at their home, Dallas Coliseum, I think. So I'm going to take the home upset with SMU in this one. And the last game we got for y'all is Indiana at USC. USC being 1.5-point home favorites again in this matchup. Indiana just beat UCLA in double overtime at UCLA by a point. I want to say it was off a foul. Yeah, it was a foul. He may miss one free throw. I think he missed the second on purpose because it was only like 0.4 seconds or something like that left. Something around that time frame left. This game is 10 o'clock on Peacock tomorrow, 10 o'clock on Peacock for Indiana. They are led by Lamar Wilkerson, the Sam Houston transfer. Sam Houston transfer was averaging 19.6 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, and 1.1 steals per game. Tucker DeVries averaging 14.1 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 3.2 assists, and 1.1 steals. And Nick Dorn, who just had a crazy game against UCLA, averaging 9.7 points per game. Their X factor to me is going to be Reed Bailey scoring, averaging 10 points per game, who I believe hit the game-winning free throw to beat UCLA. USC is led by Chad Baker-Mazar, averaging 18.8 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1.3 blocks per game. They're also led by Ezra Assar, the Utah transfer, averaging 16.1 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, and Jacob Kofi averaging 9.9 points per game, 7.4 rebounds, 1 steal, and 1.7 blocks per game. Now, their X factor to me is going to be Cam Woods, the transfer from Robert Morris. And his scoring averaging 6.6 points per game, but he did have a 33-point game against Iowa last week, and he does have the ability to score buckets and bunches. He was I don't want to say prolific scorer, but he was a good scorer at Robert Morris. I want to say he was their leading, if not second leading scorer when he was at Robert Woods. So I think he's a great talent. I want to say Robert Morris actually made the tournament when he was there as well. I want to say they won the Horizon League in the tournament. So shout out to Cam Woods. But I'm going with another upset. But I'm taking the road upset. I'm taking Indiana, man. Indiana and their ability to shoot the 3 ball. USC just lacks a ton of defense to me as well. They're a team that can score, but they're not that great of a defensive team, in my opinion. And that doesn't bode well against an Indiana team that shoots the 3 ball lights out and really well. So I think it's just a bad matchup for USC, even though they're at home. I'm taking Indiana in this matchup to light them up from 3 and win the ball game. Also, USC is lacking depth. They do have some injuries. There's some injuries within USC. So Musselman does have his work cut out this year. I know Elijah Arena's return. Shout out to him for, making his freshman debut I want to say maybe a week or 2 ago. But guys like Rodney Rice, I think he's out for the year. I think Jordan Marshall's out for some time. Don't know if he'll be back tomorrow. So they do have some injuries that they're dealing with there at USC. While Indiana, like I said, 3-point bombers. So I'm going to take Indiana as road upsets to get the West Coast victories there. Now, in terms of my college basketball, that's all I have for y'all today. But this is a network, and I do have to do some house cleaning. So shout out the network. Shout out to all y'all in the comment section. I appreciate y'all commenting. I appreciate y'all stopping by for sure. Shout out to you, Justin Thomas, 5884. I appreciate it. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it for sure. But got to do some house cleaning. So my show's about to end, but we do have the R2L main show that will be kicking off in about 20 minutes. That show normally goes live on Monday and Thursday between 7, 8, 8:30ish. That's featuring Joe, Tomo, and Dave. So please tune in the next 20 minutes to the R2L main show. It is Super Bowl week, so they may be bringing on guests, things like that. Maybe have extra days. Who knows? We got Unfazed featuring Joe and AJ. Now, those days are currently TBD and time as well TBD. So just, subscribe and get the notifications for when they are about to go live. Next, we got BWT Baseball with Teddy. We do have a trade that went down in baseball today, a 3-team trade. Teddy's probably going to break a video about that, so I won't talk about it. But make sure y'all subscribe to BWT for baseball news and stuff like that. We got FFC, Fantasy Football with Coach Coombs. Fantasy football season is obviously over, but stay tuned for whatever football content he will be providing y'all with. We have Dave's Doghouse, highlights and lowlights of sports. So make sure you tune into that. He just dropped the episode Saturday. I have RBO Real Ballers Only, featuring Vaughn. Shout out again my Pistons for a 53-point victory against the Nets last night. But here's the NBA content show, so make sure you tune into that. We have In the Red Corner featuring Ty, Ricky, and Tomo, who went live Sunday. They normally go live on Sundays. They don't go live every Sunday, but when they do go live, it is on Sundays. Boxing episodes, again, featuring Ty, Ricky, and Tomo around 6:30, 7 o'clock. So make sure y'all stay tuned into the In the Red Corner. And that's all the shows we have on the network. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to those shows as well as mine. And if you like what you're listening to, stick with us. Now, with that being said, I'm about to get ready for these games. Like I said, the first game, Stephen F. Austin. McNeese is 7:30, but you got UNC Syracuse to hold you over at 7 o'clock, or you can watch both, multiple devices. But hey, I'm gone. Enjoy the main show. Peace.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button. No matter what you're listening to or watching it, hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.